This week on The Real Buffs, dreams make good stories, but everything important happens when we're awake. Dune, coming up next. Hit the trailer.
There's something happening to me. There's something awakening in my mind. I can't control it.
What did you see?
Paul. There's a crusade coming.
Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
Yes.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain. You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others. Something none of your ancestors learned.
My father rules an entire planet.
He's losing it.
He's getting a richer one.
He'll lose that one too. Arrakis is a death trap.
I'll kill him. This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
I know you.
One day, the legend will be born. All of civilization depends on it.
The future. I can see it. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
My Lord Duke.
Where the fear is gone, only I will remain.
Go, go, go!
Welcome to the Real Buffs podcast. I'm your host, Charlie.
And I'm Matt.
And on this week's episode, we are looking at the 2021, the new G version of Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve. That's always how I pronounce it, right? It's Denis Villeneuve, I want to say,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Yeah. And starring my boy, Timothée Chalamet. What a stacked cast this movie has. It's pretty awesome. So,
Dude, Oscar Isaac, Timothée Chalamet, Dave Bautista, Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson. Who is not in this? I mean,
you totally forgot Zendaya, too.
And Zendaya, and what's his name? Javier Bardem. If that's how you pronounce his last name, I always mess it up. But, dude, stacked to the brim. Oh, and Christopher. Oh, no, Christopher Walken's not in this one as the Emperor.
We're getting ahead of yourselves. All right. Spoilers.
I'm excited.
No worries. Obviously, why we're doing this movie is the new one just came out. I want to say it was last week or the week before that. It was beginning of the month here in March. So really excited to talk about this movie. Let's get into the ChatGPT summary, though. Dune 2021 is a science fiction film directed by Denis Villeneuve, based on the 1965 novel of the same name by Frank Herbert. The film is the first part of a planned two-part adaptation covering roughly the first half of the novel. We got a long ways to go in this series. Anyways, the story is set in the distant future on the desert planet Arrakis. The only source of the valuable spice melange, which grants psychic abilities and is essential for interstellar space travel. The Atreides family, led by Duke Leto Atreides, played by Oscar Isaac, is tasked with taking over the production of spice on Arrakis from House Harkonnen. The main protagonist is Leto's son, Paul Atreides, played by the great Timothée Chalamet, who has mysterious visions and abilities. As political and economic intrigue unfolds, the Atreides family faces betrayal, and Paul finds himself in the company of the native Fremen people, who have their own plans for the destiny of Arrakis. The film explores themes of power, politics, environmentalism, and the hero's journey. It features an ensemble cast including Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Josh Brolin, and others, known for its stunning visuals, intricate world building, complex characters. Dune received critical acclaim for its direction, performances, faithful adaptation of the source material. The second part of the adaptation is expected to continue the story and conclude the epic narrative. Amazing so far. Great chat GPT summary. Man, every time I say that, it comes out like a little weird.
It's a tongue twister, man.
Dude, I don't know. I'm just going to... Maybe I should just start calling it the AI summary or whatever. That might be easier.
Our overlord summary.
Yeah. Well, don't get ahead of yourselves now. We might spoil what the next pod's going to be about our AI overlords. Anyways, yeah, I'm really excited to talk about. This is our newest film that we've done here on the pod too. So we just went from our oldest film to our newest film. But got to go with the opening questions, Matt. You know what? I know the first one is talking about the George Lucas stuff, but let's just dive into the real one. Is this a better sci-fi film than Star Wars?
No.
Really?
No. Look, man. All right. So here's the deal. I didn't grow up with Dune. So this is probably a bias. Like, I knew of Dune. I didn't grow up watching Dune. Do I think it's a stellar series that probably inspired some of Star Wars? Yeah, that's undeniable. But come on, man. Like, Dune, to my knowledge, actually, no, I'm going to say it. Dune doesn't have the following or the lore or the expansive, canon, stories, everything that Star Wars has. I think Star Wars is by far and away the bigger sci-fi. Look at just the fandom that's out there, the amount of comic books that Star Wars has, the amount of Legends novels, the amount of canon novels, the amount of people that just like the actors and actresses that are like starring in like Daniel Craig starred as a stormtrooper, didn't even see his face. That was something he had always wanted to do. Just in pure fact that there's so many people, like their life goal is to somehow do something with Star Wars. You never really hear that with Dune. And that's not a knock against Dune. It's just Star Wars is like the quintessential space opera out there.
So I agree like that it's just way more popular, but that doesn't answer the question. What I said is it a better film than Star Wars? Like, is this a better sci-fi film? So I'll go to my grave on this one. I do not contend that Star Wars is technically a sci-fi film when you really look at what it is and what it explores. It does not really fit the themes of most sci-fi films when we think of science fiction. It's more of a space western or a space opera. Like I've always said that. It's more. It doesn't explore like any themes, or it does, but not like to the degree I think of like what we think of when we think of science fiction, which is, it's sort of like it's sort of holding up a mirror to society and looking at it through, the prism of like technology and these things. Like Black Mirror, I always think is like the quintessential sci-fi, or even Twilight Zone to a certain extent, which obviously inspired it. But I think Dune explores more of those themes, and
that's fair.
Also
that's a fair statement.
Let's be real about this too. George Lucas pretty much stole everything from Dune. Like, let's go through the list now. All right, because now that we're on this, because I would say that I would agree with you that I like Star Wars a little bit better, but if I want to be a stickler to what I said of do I think this is a better
God,
sci-fi film?
I wish there was a popcorn bucket of Princess Leia.
No, it's got to be slave Princess Leia too. All right, let's be
I'd like the job of that hut.
Oh my god, that just reminds me of our conversation with when we were talking about comedies with Bill Hader, and when he's talking about getting choked out. You sound like Jabba the Hutt being choked out. Anyway, so I devised this little list, like how much did George Lucas truly steal from the book? Because the book came out in 1965, well before obviously Star Wars came out. So it clearly had a huge influence on Star Wars. So think about that, Matt. Without Dune, there is no Star Wars, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you break it down, like Star Wars isn't a sci-fi movie. It is space opera, space western, everything but kind of sci-fi. And if you're thinking of like sci-fi, then I guess you're talking like Blade Runner. You're talking
Totally. Who directed the sequel to Blade Runner 2049? Boy,
I mean, he
Denis.
said he was never gonna do something like that again, too. Funny enough.
Well, no,
So,
he's
yeah,
always been a Dune guy. So
Yeah, I get it. I guess if you're like looking at it from like really, really dissecting like what genre is what, that's fair. I mean, Dune is. I don't think I don't think so until the most recent two Dune movies came out. Like Dune in the 80s wasn't the quintessential sci-fi film. With what I'm saying, like it was very just kind of like it was a sci-fi film, but it wasn't like the sci-fi film. Whereas now I think Dune 1 and Dune 2, having seen Dune 2, yeah, I think that's kind of fair to say because Dune 2's, spoiler alert, probably the movie of the year.
so far it is. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
I don't
definitely
see
the
another
of the
movie
year
beating
so
it,
far.
but we'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah. Well, we just started 2024. Let's hold our horses there. All right.
You're right.
Still
You know what? I think Godzilla X Kong is going to do it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of excited for that movie.
Dune got lucky that Fast Furious 11 wasn't coming out this year. That's all I got to say.
Oh my god. Can't do nothing. You might have got the spice. I got family. That's what Dom's gonna say.
Can't have family without spice. You can have whatever you want as long as it's spice.
Yeah, you can have any brew you want as long as it's Corona. That's one of the great quotes of all time. All right. So I got a list here. Let's look at how much George Lucas did steal from the book. So the obvious one, let's just look at the desert planet, Arrakis and Tatooine, of where it takes place. That's the pretty obvious ones. I'd even, if you go a step further too, it's even to the point where they have moisture farmers too. And then both planets even have two moons. Like
Oh God.
It's like, come on.
My mouth.
It's like, come on. I even say like the Fremen and the Tusken Raiders have some similarities. Obviously, we don't explore the Tusken Raiders much in Star Wars, but we start to, the way like the lore builds upon itself a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I think there's some similarities there. I mean, the sandworms and the Sarlacc, like that's like even visually, it's like really. Or even the Great Dragon now that we've seen those, and those have been kind of introduced in our visual lore. I don't know. Do you know if like the Great Dragons were in any of like the Star Wars books back in the day or anything like that?
I think they were. Like, there's a lot throughout Legends, honestly. So I think they were at some point. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I dove deep, but I didn't dive deep enough before they erased it all.
Yeah, it's one of those where I imagine that there was something there before, but I think the point is there's sort of their cultures are linked to these creatures too, especially with the Fremen and the sandworms. So
yeah.
So there's that. I think the concept of spice actually exists in both. It's really like it's like a drug in the Star Wars lore, but
That's right. It is a big like trading thing. Like Han was like a spice runner, and
exactly.
So
and even I think 3PO mentions that he is like concerned about working for the spice production or whatever it is when they get captured by in the first one, what the hell is the little creature's name? I always forget.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the fucking
Is it the
name.
Jabberwocky? Is that what I'm thinking? I have no idea.
Oh, the Jawa. Oh, the Jawas.
Jawas,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Jabberwocky.
Sorry. No, I knew what you're talking about. It took me a second. Yeah. I had to rack my
Yes.
brain.
No worries, dude. So yeah, that's who, you take a look at that. Dune, it's obviously it's a more valuable substance, but it also has some, like, you could say it's almost like some psychedelic or psychic abilities to it as well. So it's a more important substance within
Could
the
you
universe
imagine,
of Dune.
actually, real quick, like the Force was really just made up, and everybody this whole time was just getting high on spice, and it's some big mushroom trip. Like, the Force, it's really not real at all. It's just a bunch of high people throughout the sands of Tatooine.
Oh my God. I mean, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, I live in LA, dude. That's pretty much how LA is now. So
Obi-Wan got high as fuck one night and said there was a prophecy for the chosen. You were the chosen one.
you got to listen to the trees, man. They're trying to tell you stuff.
I mean, there's no way Luke wasn't getting high, and like Dagobah and Yavin, because freaking, I mean, he was imagining Ben Kenobi was there with them. Like, that dude was high as hell.
Oh, dude, anytime first off, like, we've got desert states here in the United States, and guess what? There's a lot of drug usage in those states. I mean,
Burning Man.
Breaking Bad was built off of in New
Yeah.
Mexico. That's a pretty desert state to me. So you've got, like,
True.
if you got a whole planet of desert, I mean, you got to be getting a little high. Let's be real here. So, I don't blame them too. Do what you got to do. No judgment here.
That's true. That's true.
For other things that it's similar, the galaxy being ruled by the Imperium and the Empire, the Emperor kind of rules and is actually
Really
largely,
old, saggy man. Yeah.
largely absent from the first film as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Then we got the Bene Gesserit and the Jedi, like these sort of ancient orders, like the Voice and the Jedi mind tricks, almost being similar. This ability to see into the future, and then obviously the heroes Paul Atreides and Luke being the chosen one, sort of thing. So, I mean, it's like, come on, George. I think even Frank Herbert said when he saw that he saw Star Wars, he's like, I'm gonna try really hard not to sue. So, it just goes to show you. But I will say this, we talked about how it influences it. I don't think that you have Dune without Star Wars as a film, though. It's because Star Wars really pushed forward some of the technology at the time that they were using. Obviously, we definitely wouldn't have gotten the first adaptation of Dune without Star Wars.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like 100%. So, and I don't think we got this one. I mean, think about it. They actually, I didn't do spoiler alert on our podcast, but the production notes in this episode really don't exist because there's not a ton to talk about on that. So I want to spare everybody my boring notes on that. But for one of the things that I found out is that they were filming Rise of Skywalker in around the same area that they were filming Dune 1 as well. So even to that, like, I'd say with the new Star Wars coming out, I think this even created a little bit more of a push to get Dune out there now that we have the technology and the capabilities to make it a good film.
Yeah, dude, like, if you look at the 80s films, like, it was a film ahead of its time. First of all, like the 80s Dunes, it's a very compelling story, and they just didn't have the technology to do what they do. And then, so when you go and you look at this movie, just a lot of it too, though, like, a lot of big credit to what Dune did is they didn't film on sound stages. They went, like, on location. They were in real ass deserts. And I think that plays into, obviously there's like the worms aren't real, but there's a lot of, like, fake things. Right. And then, apparently the water of life is UV vodka. So that's fun. That's something I learned today as well. But it's cool. I think that lends to a lot of, that helps it, and that's something that's going to make this movie age extraordinarily well. Is they had that beautiful blend of, like, the suits are all pretty much 100% for the most part real. They're actually on location. They built these massive sets on location, and it's the perfect time to have these come out. Honestly, with the things we're able to do with camera tech, especially. So yeah, I'll definitely agree with that. It's the right time and a perfect time for these movies to come out.
Now that we're talking about it and you're running through all these things to describe, like, why this is a perfect time for Dune, it reminds me of when Nolan took over Batman in the early months. Like, a visionary director who really is into like making things the world seem as real as possible. So not shooting on soundstage all the time, but on location as much as possible. Obviously, Nolan's pretty famous for not using a ton of CGI if he doesn't have to. So obviously, Dune, you kind of can't get away from that because it's just the future. So
yeah, it's Dune.
but I mean, the point is, you have these directors who are very passionate about these big films, though, these big budget films. They're not these indie passion projects that they've kind of had before.
Right.
Nolan was doing Memento and before, which I believe Memento is even still an indie film. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah, he wasn't doing like a ton of big studio projects. I mean, Denis had a few under his belt, and a few bigger ones, but had really, I mean, Sicario is fucking amazing. It's like one of my favorite movies.
Great movie.
But he's also had a passion for the subject matter of Dune. He always he talks about how he always kept it in the back of his mind of like potentially doing it. So I think it's like very comparable when you look at that to like get the series jump started again. Not that Dune was ever at a low point, because it'd been like 40 years since we had a movie, like 41, maybe around there. I think, when did the first movie come out? The first original Dune. It was like the early 80s, right?
Was it like 84?
Okay.
Let me.
And not for nothing.
It was 1984. It was 1984 actually.
Okay, but before I was born, a couple years before that. So, yeah, I mean, and you had a good director attached to that too, but I mean, it's fucking David Lynch. I mean, come on. But let's be real here. David Lynch is not, I don't think of him as that kind of director. Like, he's not. And I love his movies. I love Mulholland Drive. Like, that's one of my favorites. Yeah. But that's just not him. So you've brought this director in who clearly has a great vision. He's able to work in these sci-fi worlds. You see Blade Runner 2049 and somebody who has a passion in the project and just being the right time. And I think it's perfect timing for Dune to have the effect that it does now. And speaking of which, like, we'll talking about how good the sci-fi movies are for this decade. Do we think Dune is the best sci-fi movie for this decade? The first one or the second one?
Because what else has come out this decade? We're only 4 years in. We got.
You say we're only 4 years in, dude, but that's halfway there, pretty much. So
come on, we're 4 years. We're 4 years in, man. Like, what do we got here? Like, looking at the list, everything, everywhere, all at once,
which
Spider-Man.
I think is amazing.
I don't consider Guardians or Spider-Man sci-fi movies. I feel like comic book movies are their own genre in my mind.
I mean, yes, I would say it's sort of like comic sci-fi, because when you start talking multiverse, you inevitably start. It's like a precursor to sci-fi.
To me, comic book movies, Marvel, DC, like, they're all their own entity. Like, I don't picture them in the same realm as a Blade Runner or a Terminator or a Dune, just because there's like a lot of different reasons. I mean, look at Marvel. There's like, I get there's some superpowers to a degree in Dune, but I just to me, they're based on comic books, which is vastly different than a 600-page novel, 6-book series. I just feel like there's a lot of different I mean, that might be a good discussion for another time as well. Like, are these superhero movies, considered sci-fi? I'd love to hear if somebody's listening, like, what do you think on this? Because that's a compelling argument to make too. Yeah,
I think, you get a lot of crossover nowadays. Like, nothing is ever going to be perfectly one thing. I would actually say this one is definitely more perfectly fit into sci-fi than the other ones. Maybe Godzilla -1, even Poor Things, which is, I would say it is definitely.
I haven't watched that yet, but Carrie just did today.
It's really good. It's really out there, but it's different. It's obviously, if you watch the movie, it's building off of Frankenstein. And if anything's going to be compared to Frankenstein, like, Frankenstein is actually considered to be the first, like, sci-fi literature there is. That's what it is. So, So yeah, it's eerily reminiscent to Frankenstein. Like it's pretty in your face with like what it's trying to do with that. So,
Right.
So if we're gonna ignore that, the Spider-Verse and No Way Home, so we're talking about the multiverse stuff, or even that, then we really have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is amazing. We have Poor Things, and we have Dune Part 2, which obviously we're talking about the first one in this, but the second one's out, so we can't just ignore it. Which I don't know, for these films, like where'd you rank them? After obviously we've seen Dune 2 already, so
I mean, honestly, I think Dune 2 is better than Dune 1. So if we're gonna go based off of this decade, and I think Dune 2's the best of Dune 2's the number one, hands down. But it's so hard. Again, I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once. I didn't love Everything Everywhere All at Once. Dude, I freaking loved Godzilla -1. That movie was a top 5 movie for me last year. But I think at the end of the day, Dune 2 takes the cake as far as like best science fiction film of the decade to date.
yeah, I love it as well. I'm really like, the only movie I haven't seen is Godzilla -1. I've been wanting to see it because I've heard great
You are
things.
in for a beautiful, beautiful treat.
Yeah, they won last night. They won an Oscar last night, I believe. So
They
yeah.
they did actually. Yep,
Yeah,
deservedly so as well.
yeah, I forget what it was for. It was one of the technical ones. I know that it was one of the more technical awards. So, but and obviously Poor Things like won a bunch of awards as well, including Emma Stone for Best Actress. So Poor Things was great. I loved Poor Things. I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. But yeah, I would agree. Dune 2 is definitely by far the best sci-fi film
Hands down.
of
Yeah.
the decade so far. Which, I think like this year has been pretty decent for sci-fi so far. Or maybe the last, and when I say year, like 2024, I guess maybe the last 2 years, because going back into 2023, with Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I mean, it just, I don't know. It's like, I feel like it's going to be harder for us to do sci-fi because of the rate technology is evolving.
Yeah,
It's
you can't
harder
compare
for
this to
us.
something that came out in like the 80s at
It's
all.
it's harder for us to tell a cautionary tale about technology and its effect on us as human beings or our society, because technology is just evolving so fast. It becomes harder to tell. I think short form storytelling is going to be the dominant form when we look at that. When you think about like obviously Black Mirror and stuff. So I do like Black Mirror a lot, but I mean, even still, it's, they've hit or miss episodes on that as well.
Right.
And they can take a long time to develop episodes too. Those don't come out every year. So all right. Let's dive into the box office. So made 108 million in the domestic box office, 433 million worldwide in 2021. Matt, what is the top movie for this year? Don't cheat. I'm gonna look
The
it up.
top
But give me
movie
a
for
second.
this year. I don't even know what the frick all came out this year so far.
It was
but I feel-
20. It was 2021 for this year. So give me a second while I pull it up.
I mean,
Sorry.
not a whole lot. Movies weren't really coming into theaters, and then this was also a time when movies went straight to streaming. I don't even remember what came out 2021. Shoot. I watched Dune on HBO the day it dropped. So personally, I didn't go out to the theater for this because theaters were still closed where I was at.
So this movie, it actually is in the 13 spot. So Matt, I mean, let me just put it to you this way: like, think in the Marvel realm of movies.
What
For
the heck came out in 2021, dude? I don't know. Was that when Into the Spider-Verse came out? Was that year?
No, Into the Spider-Verse was 2018. But you're on the right track with Spider-Man.
Shang-Chi.
That was number 2, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. Wow, that's
Yeah.
close. Sweet. What the hell else? I don't even know, honestly. Couldn't tell you. I'm
Dude,
stumped.
No Way Home.
That was 2021. I guess you're right. It was
Yeah,
because
it was-
September was Shang-Chi, and then that very December. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you're right. For some reason, I always think No Way Home came out in 2022, and same with Shang-Chi. I don't know why we lost like 4 years of our life in there, honestly. So, huh, I guess you're right. Yeah, I always think I'm always a year off for some reason.
Nah, no worries. Yeah, it's about 500 million in the domestic gross box office there. So, and by the way, want to take a guess of what movie was right below Dune? It actually came out the week before Dune in the domestic box office that year, and I'm gonna tell you what, it's a horror movie, and you hated it.
Hereditary.
No, dude, no.
I hated
No,
that
dude.
one.
Think of a sequel. Think of one that we saw together too.
What movie did I hate that we saw together? We watched it a lot. That doesn't narrow it down.
Halloween Kills.
Oh, that was that year. Oh my god.
Well, that wasn't as bad as
Okay,
Halloween Ends.
Here's the deal. Honestly, I'm gonna be real honest with you. Like, I didn't like Halloween Kills when it first came out. However, after watching Halloween Ends, I go back and Halloween Kills isn't that bad of a film. I actually, looking back after watching how the trilogy wraps up, Halloween Kills was serviceable. That was a very serviceable. Could have ended right then and there. We would have been fine as well. I got not God. Don't even get me started.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, anything compared to Halloween Ends. Halloween
Oh
Kills
my
looks like Citizen
God.
fucking Kane compared to it.
You're right.
So-
Halloween. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's that's a topic for another day. We can dive into that one. But all right, cool. So positive review that we got from Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times. He goes and says the jaw-dropping visuals, the pulse-pounding sound editing from Denis Villeneuve's stunningly gorgeous Dune are so awesome it makes up for the slow-moving and quite familiar storyline, which is basically a New Testament meets Mad Max meets Star Wars. Yeah, not too dissimilar from that.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
like it actually. Villeneuve, Blade Runner 2021, and Arrival. Yeah, I forgot he does Arrival too, which is awesome. Is a master at creating mind-boggling futuristic worlds. He tops himself with overwhelmingly striking imagery in Dune. Whether we're gazing in wonder at some gigantic spacecrafts in the movie, the fashionably functional battle costumery, the helicopter-like ornithopters. Is that what they're called? The ornithopters?
Yeah, I can never pronounce that properly.
Yeah. I can't speak this language at all. So, anyways, ornithopters with multiple blades that make them look like they basically look like dragonflies. It's pretty cool. And the spectacularly vast and forbidding sand and spice desert planet of Arrakis, aka Dune. This is a feast for the senses. So it totally
Duke
is.
of Arrakis. I can't hear Arrakis without yelling it.
Ugh. I know. It was I'm still pumped up from seeing this
It
movie.
makes me feel things in my dynasty.
What sort of visions did you have, Matt? Oh, by the way, like, did you get the popcorn cover? Did we
No,
not?
that was only at AMC. I got a Regal in a Cinemark by me, but I have Regal bucks, like $1,500 in Regal money. So I just went to the regular old. I don't actually even have an IMAX theater around me, which is kind of a crime, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, they're like the true like 70 millimeter or whatever they are. Is it 70 millimeter? I forget.
Yeah,
IMAX.
it's
Yeah.
70 mil.
There's only like a handful throughout the country. Like, there's not a ton of them.
The
so.
big cities, yeah, like DC, New York City, Boston's got one.
I don't know. I don't think Boston has one. I think the closest one is in like Rhode Island, which
Rhode
yeah.
Island. Rhode Island's gonna
I
be
know,
underwater soon, anyways. Ain't nobody going to Rhode Island except for Narragansets.
What? Come on, you don't like going to Rhode Island? What's that town? Newport. You never gone to Newport?
Yeah, that's true.
I liked Newport
I do.
when I was there that one time, randomly, but it was good. I had a good time. I
That's
wore
fair.
white. I wore white jeans, and it was 4th of July weekend. It was
White
I know.
jeans, sir. Good sir.
I know. When I could fit into that 36 waist jean. Don't even get me started now.
Look, man, we're old.
Yeah, you're telling me. All right, so negative review from Richard Brody of the New Yorker. It's surprising how cheesy the new Dune looks. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, the adaptation of Frank Herbert's 1965 novel seems less like a CGI spectacle than a production still waiting for its backgrounds to be digitally filled in, or it's set to be built. David Lynch's version of Dune from 1984 was a profuse film, teeming with sets, costumes, intricate as they were, overwhelming. It's like this guy, like I'm interrupting this. This guy's like really like. You're going to say that David Lynch's was better? I mean, come on.
The same movie?
Like, seriously. Making extended and startling use of optical effects and, in general, displaying an urgent will to turn the fantasy worlds of the story, which is set in the year 10,191, into physical, visceral experiences. Villeneuve's interests appear to lie elsewhere. Oh, my God. All right, I'm not even going to read the rest of this because it upsets me. But basically, he's saying that a film that David Lynch disavows, basically, is better than the new one. So I can't. And sorry, but like Richard Brody, I think he's a New Yorker writer. I think he's just appealing to his pretentious crowd. Just going to throw it out there right there.
Huh. Yeah. I don't really know if he watched this movie at all. At all. Did he watch it? Like, what was this guy doing?
No, he watched the 1984 one and was like, this one was better. Anyways, Dune's has a 74 on Metacritic, which is generally favorable. So it also has an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
I feel like that's still kind of low too, 83%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get it. Like, it's an entry point to the series. Those are always a little bit harder to do than the sequels because you've got to introduce so many characters. It's, think of like when you're doing a pilot in TV. You've got to introduce all these characters and everything like that. So it can become a lot. So I get it. I totally get it. Let's get into the awards, Matt. Best scene. I love the opening prologue of this movie. I think it's awesome. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I'd throw it in there as contender. I fucking love the opening prologue.
Rolling over the sands, you can see spice in the air.
I'm going to give you my best scene is when Duncan is fighting. For some reason, something about Jason Momoa fighting everybody off until he ultimately meets his demise, man. Like I rock with that pretty hardcore.
I like that one too.
Although a close second to me would be when everybody spits as a sign of respect because they're giving their water. Something about that's just ridiculous to me.
Oh yeah, that was a really good scene actually.
Yeah.
Where with Javier Bardem's character Stilgar.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they meet and he spits on the table. That was pretty funny. It totally, like, you think about that, like, as a custom. I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. The gift of their moisture because they don't have so much of it. Like, they're not going to waste it on people. It's a gift. So I kind of like the idea of that, too. I like the sparring scene with Gurney.
Guess I'm not in the mood today.
Mood? What's mood to do with it?
You fight when the necessity arises, no matter the mood. Now fight!
That's Josh Brolin's character.
Oh yeah, that's a really good scene because that pays off in future films. But
it does, and it reminds me. You think of some of the other things that probably it's drawing inspiration from a filmic level. It reminds me of like Arya when she's training with Syrio Forel and Game of Thrones in season 1, or even the Faceless Men later on, or Neo and Morpheus in the Matrix. That's the one it reminded me of the most. It was like, oh, this is like going for a Matrix vibe here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of got those inspirations like as well for sure.
Yeah, definitely. In which those are great inspirations to have. I mean, those are some great training montages, especially the Matrix one. I fucking love that scene.
Oh yeah.
Another one that where it's this typical story of the hero's journey. Like this is this is what it is with Dune, with a lot of these stories, and I always loved it. I mean, obviously Game of Thrones is another one like that. So, The Matrix. I mean, I love stories that tell this hero's journey, and when it's done well, it's always just it's an old story, but it's a pleasure to watch each time.
Yeah.
So, Paul meets Reverend Mother Moham.
Yeah, he sticks his hand in the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box? Pain.
Put your hand in it.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
All I can picture when she says pain is from Rocky 3 when Clubber Lang is like, "What's your prediction for this fight?"
Pain.
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
Fucking Mr. T. Great movie. R.I.P. to not to Mr. T, but to Apollo Creed himself.
Yes.
Gonna miss him.
That's true.
Yep.
Yes, Carl Weathers, man.
The great Carl Weathers, gonna miss him. Anyways, I like the Hunter Seeker attack, like when it attacks him in the room. I always like that scene. That was kind of cool. And then the Spice Harvester rescue scene from the Sandworm, that was a good scene.
Yeah, that was another really, really good one. Yeah.
Yeah, when they first go out there, I like that. And then I'd say like when the Harkonnens attack, that's like when the movie is a full go. That's
honestly, it
my
feels
favorite.
like, yeah, like that whole entire just surprise attack scene. It's like when it really flips a switch and turns into an entirely different film. It's almost like two films seamlessly put together. Like it's that transition point that's just really freaking smooth.
Yeah, it really is, and like you kind of like know it's coming, but you do know it's coming because the Reverend Mother like says something when she's talking to Baron Harkonnen there. So so you know something is gonna happen, but it's still impressive, and it's still kind of shocking to see how it happens, and obviously how the betrayal happens, everything like that. So I like that scene, but also another good scene that we didn't even talk about is when Paul at the end fights. Is it Jamis? Is that his name?
Yep.
You should welcome my blade. This world will kill you. Quicker this way.
Then that's basically how his initiation into the Fremen.
Yeah.
That was pretty badass too, man. Because again, like that pays off later in the movie from his earlier training sequences and things like that. And that's really his first time he's ever killed a man too. Like that's a very important scene, because knowing especially where having any sort of book knowledge, you know where all this kind of leads. That's his first kill. So it's a pretty powerful, important scene for his future.
I would agree. And you know what scene that reminded me of, and I'm getting to think that maybe George Lucas wasn't the only one who stole some stuff from Dune. I think our boy George R.R. Martin stole a bunch from Dune as well, and just made it. He's like, let's make Dune into a fantasy world instead. Let's do that. And you know what? Don't blame him.
Maybe he should go for more inspiration, because we're still waiting on that book.
Yeah, the issue is he did too much. But it reminds me of the scene where Jon Snow kills Corran Halfhand. He's one of the members of the what's it called there, of the Night's Watch, and he kills him, and that sort of initiates him into to be one of the wildlings.
Yeah.
Or the free folk, as they call them, instead of the Fremen.
The king of the north.
But yeah, it's giving me shades of that. So so if I'm gonna go with anything, I still think my favorite scene is the Harkonnen attack. Like when they first attack, I fucking love that.
That's fair. That leads into my favorite, which is Duncan Idaho going to town.
That was so awesome. And
Yeah.
you can see it's happening. Like it's already, obviously he has the visions of Duncan fighting them and dying, and he's like, oh, I should be there with you. But no, you're seeing his fate because that's what's going to happen. So cool. All right, most quotable line. I like the cold open things that they do for this, where it's like, what is that voice, that speaks in the cold open, and they have like a little quote at the bottom. What the hell voice is that?
Yeah, it's like this weird, like they're all about weird voices in this universe.
I do like it, but
yeah,
but they have that weird voice, and the quote comes on the screen. The quote for this one was, "Dreams are messages from the deep," which I love as just a quote. That's a good one. The next one I have is Chani in the voiceover narration at the beginning. Who will our next oppressors be?
And who will our next oppressors be?
Like, it's so, like, it just gives you that insight into how the.
To me, that's kind of my favorite, because again, it alludes to, what's to come, and she's kind of right. I mean, they're just these slaves to Arrakis. They're just treated like second-rate people and never really given a chance, and it's just one person, emperor, godlike being after another that just continuously just takes over their planet for personal gain. And she's got a point.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the main themes of this type of story, though, is that we're exploring what these countries who are obviously, it's colonialism essentially. It's like we're gonna exploit the local population and use our superior arms and forces to recoup any resources that we need to expand our empire. So yeah, very, very much hits to what has happened in real life, obviously. So of just colonialism and empires throughout human history, for that matter. So,
for sure.
So yeah, who will next oppressors be is just an interesting way to say that.
It's a real, yeah.
I like this one from Duke Leto Atreides. A great man doesn't seek to lead. He's called to lead.
Your grandfather said, a great man doesn't seek to lead. He's called to it. And he answers. And if your answer is no, you'll still be the only thing I ever needed you to be. My son.
And he answers.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good one.
And just coming from Oscar Isaac and his sexy voice and just sexiness
He's
all
so
around.
Suave.
Oh, he's so good looking when he says that. I like when Paul says this, he's asking about like the Lisan al-Gaib, and which is basically the Fremen word for the chosen one sort of thing. And he says to him, they see what they've been told to see.
They see you. They see the signs.
You see what they've been told to see.
About this. And obviously when you think about the Fremen and the Bene Gesserit and how they've been kind of programmed for this idea of the one. So I like that. That's some interesting insight into Paul's thinking of this idea of the one at first and how that's going to potentially evolve over time.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's right too, especially it's you see it a lot more. I don't want to keep drawing comparisons to the second film.
No, we'll wait.
And so it's really hard because like these lines, again, like you never realize just how much pays off in from the first film. That the second, like it's so hard to talk about, and like not talk about, because this is one of those lines right there. They see what they've been told to see. It's Lisan al-Gaib, like, come on.
Sidetrack, I love the whole Lisan al-Gaib memes that have been coming out.
Oh, dude,
now.
I'm living for it.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly,
I've sent you like 5 of them.
I was going to send you one like after you told me about you and Steph, and I wanted to be like, that's what I wanted to post. Could be like, share it because that's all I was thinking.
Oh my god. That's good. Yeah, by the way, that reminds me. Another bit. Well, actually, no, we won't talk about that. That's the second film. So, anyways, I'm glad I stopped myself from saying that. I like this one. The mystery of life isn't the mystery of lice. There's not much mystery there. They're on your head, and they're certainly not on mine because I'm bald. So, no, the mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience, a process that cannot be understood by stopping it. We must move with the flow of the process. We must join it. We must flow with it. And that's what Jamis said. I was like, oh man, like, come on, Paul, why'd you have to kill
The
him?
mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience. A process that cannot be understood by stopping it. We must move with the flow of the process. We must join it. We must flow with it.
Yeah. Because again, that was another one like Jamis. He was such a badass, and it sucks that again he had to be the one to kind of go and die, but that also made that whole entire death fight sequence more powerful too.
It was intense, and
It really was.
He was a great character. I mean, it was within his character. So, like, obviously, someone like Stilgar isn't going to do it because, you know, he sees the one in Paul, but somebody like Jamis who's a little bit more skeptical is not going to just buy it right away and is going to be very skeptical of outsiders. And so even though he's got this cool perspective, like, I think it's well within his character for doing something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Next one I got here is I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
Fear's the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings obliteration. And I'll face my fear and I'll permit it to pass over me and through me.
That's hard.
Fucking quote.
Dude, Lady Jessica, she's kind of the goat. Like she's really a fucked up character. She's fucking evil. She's evil, but she's like terrifying though. She's like it's a terrifying, but also like you're still drawn to her kind of way. Like, you know, she's up to no good, but every time she's on the scene or, you know, in a scene, she just like commands it in a way. And then like just like lines like these too are just all the more reason. And Rebecca Ferguson's just a badass actress on top of that.
She is, and she's great in this.
Yeah,
I do like her as a character, and like I'm glad that like we're gonna explore her journey a little bit more because I think it's gonna be very interesting.
Agreed.
So I got two more on here. The other one's a little bit of an exchange, but this is the first quote from your boy Duncan, Idaho. Dreams make good stories, but everything important happens when you're awake.
Want to come with me? Listen, dreams make good stories, but everything important happens when we're awake. Because that's when we make things happen.
Ooh. I do, man, Duncan, Idaho. I love him.
It's one of my, it's arguably my favorite Jason Momoa character of all time so far.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's easy because like this one, he plays it more serious and like he gives you a little bit more depth, whereas most of his other characters are that goofball playing himself kind of deal. And so like this one actually gives you like acting. Not to say his other films aren't acting, but if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, he is kind of a goofball too. So it's like he's playing himself and when he's being a goofball. But yeah, because I like this one, and then obviously I love him as Khal Drogo. I think anybody does.
Oh yeah, that's what's like his first big break onto the scene.
Yeah, I mean, he was awesome in that. I was obviously, speaking another language and stuff too, and just he's got such like a ferocity and intensity, and you can see why he would be a leader for his people. So it's like it's similar with this one where it's like he has the feel of a guy who's very charismatic, a good leader, but also is able to understand other people's cultures, and he's a warrior, but he's a smart guy too. So yeah, he's like essentially he's like a special forces operative, if we were to compare to like anything today. Yeah. So, all right. Last one here. This is the exchange between Mother Moahim and Paul. The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box and you die. What's in the box? What's in the box?
Come on.
What's in the fucking box? And then just the one word answer. Pain. Love it.
It is badass.
All right, cool. What do you got for the best quote though? What's your favorite one?
I stand by it. Who will our next oppressors be? Just because it's a lot of foreshadowing, heavy hinting towards what's to come, and seeing how it all plays out. Yeah, that one's because it's just like one big long tale of oppression. This entire Dune tale is all of it is.
I love it. I like that one a lot too. I think my favorite. Oh man. Feel like I'm getting put on the spot, even though I shouldn't feel like that. A great man doesn't seek to lead; he's called to lead, and he answers.
That's a good one.
Like Duke Leto Atreides.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that up on my whiteboard, and then when I have my Zoom calls for business, I'm just gonna have that on there and be like, "Yeah, it's Leto. He gave me some inspiration.
Put some respect on it."
All right, what is the best? I love the prologue, and the prologues are tough to do in film because you run the risk of doing overall exposition, which can suck. You don't want to just be talking about the movie. You want to be showing, and they can be really difficult. Like, I think this one, first off, clearly inspired by Lord of the Rings. Like,
yeah,
very much so. And which I think has like one of the best prologues I've ever seen. Like, I love the Lord of the Rings one and the Fellowship of the Ring specifically, because they sort of give you that brief history of what's going on. They catch you up, but they show you some of it. It's fucking cool. I love that. I think this one borrows from it. I think it's great. Because like I said, it's a really hard thing to do, and you can lose voiceover can kind of lose me easily if it's narration. Sometimes I'm like,
agreed.
I'm always a little skeptical of like, oh, okay, is this going to work? Like, it does work in some, like it worked in The Wolf of Wall Street, different kind of movie, but it's still doing a lot of voiceover. Goodfellas, it's a good one. So for something like this, you don't have voiceover throughout the movie, but you do have it with this. And I think this is a great use of it at this point.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the effects. Kind of, I guess the whole like designs and everything, the effects, it's a mix of practical and CG, but it blends together like flawlessly. And so it's one of those things that's going to age really, really well. And with time, like a Lord of the Rings, right? Like Lord of the Rings still holds up effects wise because of the practical uses that they did. And I think, again, going back to that comparison, it's going to hold up in the long run because it's just so well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think the idea to shoot on
it's
on
location, site, motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't know why I was gonna say on set, and I'm like, that's not it. It's on location.
They were on set technically.
Well, they're always on set. Doesn't matter where it is, just that's always the set. Anyways, but yeah, I would agree. It's on location. It looks unbelievable. You can't like if you're CGIing a desert, like what are we doing here? It's just I can understand maybe you're doing a little couple of mountains in the background. Cool. Not the whole thing. Like let's make it a real lived-in world that we can feel like it's lived in. So I love the way they've developed the sets on it. And even the effects are really good, like when they're using them. So the other thing I would say that holds up really well, and I think this is personally what I like best about it, is the sound mixing and the editing as well. Like the sound in this movie is unreal.
Yeah.
I put it like I saw this one in theaters, that being the first Dune, and I was watching it obviously when I rewatched it for the pod. So I was rewatching it then, and just like having it on with the sound bar and turning it up all the way, and the intensity that it uses different things, like the whole thing of the voice with the sound editing, it just would not work without that amazing mix. And sound editing and mixing is like one of those things where it takes like a specific ear to get those sounds and how you're gonna
especially when you're pounding the sand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Like that's where like the really really good use of sound. They use it even more in the second one, but yeah, it's excellent.
Totally. And between that, the voice, the ships, anything. I mean, they really take their time to build the sound and immerse you in it. And that's why I think this is a movie that you can really like. You got to see in the theaters to get the full effect of it. So, all right, cool. So you're saying the effects. I'm gonna say the sound mixing with prologue is like sort of like the second thing that I love about it. What age the worst? This is a 3-year-old movie, so it's hard to say. But I'm just gonna say like the name of the people in Arrakis being the Fremen. It's basically taking free men and combining it together. I'm like, all right, like, cool. Could we maybe have done something a little bit better than that? I'm just throwing that one out there. Now, I'm no fucking genius in saying that. I'm coming up with the name. I'll just put it in ChatGPT and it can figure it out for me. But anyways, no, I think we could have done something a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I guess that's really it. I don't really have many complaints. I don't really have anything, to be honest. Like, I don't even care about the name other than what you just pointed out. So I don't really have anything that aged the worst, if that makes sense.
Dude, I just wanted to have something to say. So
that's fair. I don't have anything. It's nearly flawless. I really don't. There's not, okay, you know what? There's not enough god dang Oscar Isaac. There you go.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. We always need more Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
All right. If you had the Rick and Morty interdimensional cable box, what version of this movie would you like to see? So I got a little version of this movie I'd like to see because this would have been done in the mid-70s before Star Wars.
Mine's actually a riff off the 80s as well. Their film, the first one.
Well, this one would have been before the 80s. So Chilean French director Alejandro Jodorowsky famously attempted the first big screen adaptation of Dune in the mid-70s. And this set was to include Salvador Dali, Mick Jagger, Orson Welles, David Carradine, and the director's own son in the lead, along with a psychedelic soundtrack by Pink Floyd. Fucking sign me up right now.
Yeah, honestly. I will add to that my time travel would be, did you know that Tom Cruise was almost Paul Atreides in the 1984 version?
Oh, no way.
He couldn't grasp Frank Herbert's language. That's the only reason why he wasn't cast. And so like, I kind of want to see what that movie's like if Tom Cruise is the actor. Like, where does that movie go and where does that hold up in comparison to, because the actors were kind of forgettable in that movie, but if you had Tom freaking Cruise leading it, what's that movie like? So that's what I want to see.
I mean, that was really before he was even Tom Cruise. I don't know, 1984, was that before Risky Business? It had to have been around the same time. Close to it.
It was like his early beginning days, yeah.
Yeah, because All the Right Moves was like the early '80s.
Does he still become a big star? Like, where's that go? Does he get typecast into science fiction movies then versus doing like Days of Thunder, Risky Business, Vanilla Sky, like all those other weird movies?
Well, that really doesn't come about until Top
Days of
Gun, which is like '86
Yeah.
or '87, something like
Yeah,
that.
this was even
So,
right before Top Gun. Does he do Top
Yeah.
Gun if he does Dune, you know?
I mean, I don't know. Is Dune is good with him? Also, like him working with David Lynch, that would be interesting because, like, you know, he's solely become like an action star now. He hasn't done any weird movies in a while, maybe since Magnolia with PTA, where he's like the pickup artist dude, where he's hilarious. He's actually fantastic in that movie.
Right.
But yeah, he hasn't done one of those in a while. Like and I guess he's gonna start doing some of those now. I heard he's gonna.
Well,
that.
he's got like his own HBO thing or whatever. He signed a deal with, I think it was HBO or something like that.
Good. Like I want to see Tom Cruise range and do some weird stuff. You know, do some.
I'm
stuff
all about
that's
the
different.
weird stuff, man. Let's see where it goes. He's a weird guy, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, standout performance. I
There's
mean,
only one answer.
I got 3. My boy, Timothy Chalamet.
That's the only answer there is. This movie puts him on the map. Like,
Yeah.
he really, like, he was in things before, but you didn't like know Timothy Chalamet. He wasn't in stuff. He wasn't like, he gets Wonka out of this. He is obviously in Dune 2. Like, he's become kind of a mega star, and that's because of what he does in Dune 1. His acting is incredible. And so this, like, it's very hard not to give it to him. He's my only answer. The others are very close because I don't think anybody was a bad actor or a bad choice in this, but Timothy really, this movie launches him.
Well, the others, I mean, it's basically the Atreides clan is what I'd say is the standout performances. You got Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto, and then Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica. So, but to your point, I like Chalamet feels like he's the runaway standout performance of it. Also, you know, it's funny. I had this interesting like text thread with some of my friends. I think it was like last month or something like that, and we were talking about like, somebody brought up the point. There's not really any like young 20-year-old up and coming actors that we know, and I was just thinking, I'm like, well, are we just out of touch because we're a little bit older now? I'm like in my late 30s. I'm like, maybe I'm just a little out of touch. But then I'm like, no. I was like, that's actually kind of false because really actors, if they're popular in their 20s, it's sort of like a, you know, if they're that big in their 20s, it's almost an outlier nowadays because actors in their 30s usually look younger and they can play into their early 20s. You know, they can play parts in their early 20s. So most of the time with those types of actors, big actors, they're hitting it big in their 30s because they're a little bit more seasoned. You know, they've been acting for a while. Maybe they were a child actor and they've been acting for a long time. So the 30s is when they hit their stride, and that's where you see them become like mega stars. Whereas opposed to like their early 20s, you don't see it as much. And so that's the conclusion that I came to, is that you just don't have as many. So Chalamet is sort of like the outlier at this point. I mean, I'm going to throw this out there. Is he our generation's? Is he about to be our generation's like Leo, or for that matter, Tom Cruise?
I mean, it's very well he could be. It depends where he continues to take his acting, like what movies he's going to do subsequently after this franchise. You know, he has Wonka, of course. He's done some other artsy things. So it kind of depends because, I mean, Tom Holland's up there, but I don't think Tom Holland's like as good of an actor as Timothy Chalamet. And that's no knock against Tom. I love Tom Holland, think he's great, but Tom's more of an action, kind of more star, I think, in that realm. Whereas I think Timothy has a bit more range. So I think that could be very true. Let's just hope he doesn't stick to the younger type like Leo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Chalamet. Who's Chalamet dating anybody? I don't know.
He was doing Kylie Jenner.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right. Well, she's like his age though, right?
Yeah, it starts there. So I'm saying, like, just
listen, we're not gonna know if he gets any younger until like 20 years from now, Matt.
That's
So,
true.
like,
I'm just saying, Timothy, be careful.
Oh, it's totally fair. All right, let's hope he doesn't go that route. Well, I mean, if he does, whatever. Just we're gonna make fun of you for it. Just keep it legal, dude. All right.
Yes, just be smart.
Just keep it legal. Pound for pound. All right, I've got 3 of them, and I don't think any of these are gonna be a surprise. But I've got Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho. I think that's going to be yours. I was honestly hesitant to put him as pound for pound, but just looking at the movie, I'm like, well, he's not in a ton of it, actually.
Well, him and Gurney.
Yeah.
I would say it's tied between those two.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to add Josh Brolin on here. So you want
Yeah.
to put Josh Brolin as Gurney? Okay.
I would add Brolin. I think it's kind of tied between those two.
Okay. What about, I got 2 others here. Javier Bardem as Stilgar.
Yeah. All right. I'm buying what you're selling.
I don't know. Like, he's sort of like, I would say he's decent. He
doesn't drive the story or have as big of an impact yet, though.
No, and also like he's good when he's on screen. He's sort of like funny and everything. He fits into his character well. I don't know if he like stands out. So the other one that I have, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, is Babs Olusan Mokun.
I couldn't tell you. I am very bad about
pronouncing names. Yeah, Olusan Mokun. I believe that's it. So Babs Olusan Mokun as Jamis. So
I mean, that's close. I think Jamis does a good job, but I still think at the end of the day, I think it's Momoa. I'm gonna give it to Momoa on this one.
Yeah, he's really good in that. He's just so commanding and like it's perfect for him. It's the perfect blend of like a serious guy, who's a warrior and also very thoughtful as well. He's almost intellectual to a point. So whereas like Josh Brolin's character, it was his name. Is it Gurney?
It's Gurney.
He's a little rougher around the edges.
He definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like you can kind of tell that like Duncan Idaho is. I mean, he is stoic, but like he just seems like a bright guy too.
Yeah.
All right. New category. Who gets an Oscar? So if we're gonna give an Oscar to anybody, who's it gonna be?
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. Chalamet.
Easily. I think so. Yeah, Timothy for best lead actor.
Yeah,
and then,
I mean,
Denis, I think would get an Oscar as well for best director, which he's gonna win this year, in my opinion. And then,
we got to wait a whole nother year because we just found out who won best director this year.
I know,
he wasn't obviously nominated.
Lock it up because, he wasn't nominated for the last year. This is 2021, but lock it in. He's gonna win next year. Both of them are.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think you could have I'll throw you a few more in there. Hans Zimmer for the music is fucking awesome. When we talk about some of the music moments, I think Hans Zimmer is great.
Agreed.
I would also say when we look at some of the other things, we look at the sound. Whoever does the sound editing on this is
sound set, all that costume design, even.
Yeah, the sound. Also, Greg Fraser or as the cinematographer or the director of photography is good. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be hard pressed to really say it's not Denis.
I'll give it that. I'll give you that one.
Yeah. All right. I'll put Denis on there. All right. For the music moments, and like I said, the music's amazing. I like the music in the beginning prologue. I just love how it just gets you into the story. But the best one is the only one answer. And that's when the Atreides land on Arrakis and you have the badass bagpipes that start.
That's the only song that's the only like I actually remember.
I was like, this is fucking awesome. I love this right now.
That's easily my one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna dive into the other ones because that's it. That's it. All right, double feature.
Come on, there's only one answer.
I mean, it's Dune 2. Once it
2.
becomes available to stream, yeah, it's Dune 2.
It's Dune 2.
You could also do the original Dune if you wanted to do that.
I'd start with the original Dune and then watch this one.
Do a compare and contrast. Like that's not a bad idea. Also, I'm gonna throw these ones out here because they're very similar in their story. Is Star Wars: A New Hope.
That's fair.
And then I would say Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring, the first one.
Yeah, you're going to be up all night. That's for sure. That takes like a whole half day.
I know. But I love it. I'll watch that every time. All right. We got it. Who's winning the day?
Timothy.
Yeah, it's Timothy.
This launches his career, man. It's Timothy.
It's got to be Chalamet.
Timothy.
It's got to be Chalamet. Sounds like it should be an advertisement for something.
Yeah, it does, like a cologne.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Michael Cera doing the whole survey. Like that whole thing's hilarious. I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah. All right. Letterboxd score. I get a feeling we're going to be actually somewhat aligned on this one now. We're not going to have one of us giving a 5 and the other giving a 1 or anything like that. So, what do you got for your Letterboxd score?
I'm going to go 4.5.
Okay. Care to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Just because this one's a little slower. I feel like the pacing got a little slower for a little bit in the first half. And I just I don't want to give it a perfect 5 because Dune 2 to me is a perfect 5, and that movie's way better than Dune 1. So I don't really have. It's tomatoes.
Well, Matt, thank you. You just ruined the Dune 2 podcast. They all know your Letterboxd score now. Come on, you can't be saying that stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
You're right. Cut that out. Power of editing, baby.
I'm still leaving it in. I don't care. But yeah, so I would agree. I don't have many issues with this film at all, despite its long runtime. It doesn't feel long.
It doesn't. No.
It really sucks you into the world. The world building itself is amazing. Denny is a master. You have so many good people working on this film between Denis, Hans Zimmer, and then you obviously got Chalamet and the amazing cast that you were able to get for this film. So 4.5 for me. We don't have to do any math, thank God. So it's just going to be 4.5.
Yeah, we matched up.
Yeah, we're going to be 4.5 stars for this one. So thank God. But that is it. But however, we got a special surprise for you this episode. Matt and I are going to do a brief discussion on Dune 2. So this is your warning right now. If you don't want any spoilers, you haven't seen the movie yet, cut it off now.
Let's just
revisit
spoiler-free thoughts.
All right.
Give spoiler-free thoughts. Because then we can do a whole episode on Dune 2.
Thank
so
you.
I think we should give quick spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah, we'll do a whole episode on Dune 2. I think we'll wait for it to come out streaming so that we can have some time with it.
I got a lot to say about it, so I think we should.
Yeah, we'll save it for a whole episode. But for our initial thoughts, Matt, I'll let you take the floor first.
I mean, it's a damn near perfect movie. This is going to be the best movie of 2024. I'm going to boldly claim it now. No point did this movie drag. At no point was I like checking my watch, feeling the runtime. I was sucked in, and I think Timothy gives an even stronger performance in this one. Rebecca Ferguson at the same time is very terrifying again. And shout out to Austin Butler too, because I thought he played a villain excellently. Like, he was so good. There was a lot in this. There's a lot that happens and a lot of payoff from Dune 1 that makes me appreciate Dune 1 even more. So for me, this is like a perfect movie. I didn't expect to love it because I left Dune 1 being like, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a really good movie, but I walked out of Dune 2 thinking about it for days, and I'm still thinking about it. And that's a testament to a really good movie. So for me, man, it was perfect. It's going to be the best movie of the year. Hands down for me. And I know it's early. I know it's March. We got a lot of ball game left. So I'd be interested to revisit at the end of the year and see if I still feel this way, but I have a feeling I'm going to.
Matt, I do have a feeling that this might be your Max Kellerman bad take right here, where you're saying that Brady is cashed, 7 years before he ends up retiring. Not to say that Dune isn't going to be a great film, and I don't know if it's going to be the best all year. It very well could be, honestly. Like, it's that good. I fucking loved it. To Matt's point, I really did think about it for the days on end after it. Some of the performances in it are, oh my God. You talk about Chalamet is amazing in it, but you forgot the lead, who might be the best in all of this, is Austin Butler, who is fucking phenomenal in this movie.
He really was, man.
Was so good. So good. But he was good. We've got Chalamet. Zendaya has a much bigger role in this film too, and she's great. I mean, she's great in almost anything. And then you've got Javier Bardem, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin. So a lot of great actors in this as well. I do think it's better than the first one. So, when we go to revisit it, it's not much more room that we can improve upon from a 4.5.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like, I will say that even though I disagree with Matt, I think it's too early to tell in the year with how many good movies that we've got coming out. I mean, Matt, it's only March. I mean, come on.
It is March, and we have a lot. There's a lot coming up.
Clearly, Roadhouse is going to be better. I mean, like, come on, dude. Like, get on board with this.
Oh, give Conor McGregor Best Supporting Actor.
But I mean, listen, this might not even, Matt, we're getting ahead of ourselves. This might not even be the best desert-based sci-fi film this year, when we got Furiosa coming up in May, which I cannot fucking wait for.
Wait, that movie's coming out this year. I'm not a big Mad Max fan.
Oh, well, listen, you better get on board, because we got a whole month of Max movies we're doing, buddy.
Okay. I mean, I'm down to revisit to see if my feelings changed, without a doubt. I'm always down. You know that.
Dude,
but yeah, I was indifferent to these movies.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm obviously, like, that's a different one. But anyways, we got we've got other sci-fi movies coming out. We got The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I love that franchise. I love what they've done with that over the past 10 years here. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was awesome. So was the War one. I love that whole story.
I am very excited for that new one to come out.
Yeah,
I will say, very, very excited.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, dude, we got Deadpool 3. We've got Twisters. Twisters,
right. Dude,
come on. There's gonna be multiple.
We're revisiting the original Twister. You bet your ass we're going to be talking that movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we might have to. We also, I mean, come on, dude. We got sequels galore. We got another Beverly Hills Cop. We got another Beetlejuice. We have another Beetlejuice, dude.
Yeah.
We also have another Joker.
That's true. No. We don't need another Joker. We're good.
And we got.
I didn't really care about the first one.
I liked it. We're gonna talk about that one eventually this year, but because of the new one's coming out. But
I'll have a lot to say.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. We'll save it for that. But I do. Yeah. I will say that I like it. I have some issues with it too. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Anyways, man. That is gonna do it for us here at the Real Buffs for this week's episode. Stay tuned, because we are not leaving the sci-fi genre. We are going to give you a quick little trailer for what we've got coming up next here on the Real Buffs. So, on behalf of... What's up?
Guess you could say, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I had to. You couldn't cut it out. I don't care.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, listen up. You'll know what we're doing here next week. We might have a special guest for that one as well, too. So, on behalf of the Real Buffs, I'm your host, Charlie.
I'm Matt.
And so long, hit the trailer.
In the 21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other. This weapon will be powerful, versatile, and indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
You're dead, honey.
What day is it? The date?
12th May, Thursday.
What year? I'm here to help you. I'm Reese, DN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination.
Why does it want me? Why me?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Your future is in its hands.